Tank warfare has not been around for as long as you might think. There were several showings from 1908 to 1910. The British Mechanical Transport Committee, the people that made the tank, are anonymous. This reason for that was Britain needed something to get across the trenches. In World War I, trench warfare was widely spread. The trenches were made by digging a large hole and were used by men as cover. Finally, in 1916, the first tank, Little Willie, was made. This tank was an incredibly terrible tank. It weighed 14 tons and went 2 miles per hour. Since this tank was so horrible, Britain realized it needed a better land battleship. To keep this project secret, Britain said even to the people that were making them that they were to carry water to the troops in the desert. They did this to lead their enemies away from their plans. After Little Willie, Britain came up with the Mark series with the capability to crush all in its path.
Unlike modern tanks, the Mark I and II were both made before their time, and at that time, even though they were so imperfect, they had a fear factor greater than any other tank in history. The Mark tanks were always made in two different versions, the male and the female. The female was the lighter version of the male. The Mark I was used on September 15, 1916 in the Battle of Flers Courcelles. This was a small part of the Battle of Somme in World War I. Even with its new modifications, the Mark I still had numerous problems. The Mark I held an 8-man crew. The female weighed 27 tons and the male weighed 28 tons. It had a speed of 2 miles per hour and 250 were produced. Next came the Mark II and III. Both were training tanks. Only 50 of them were made, although the Mark III had a Vickers machine gun. All of the tanks so far had just basic modifications from their previous model. Britain needed a different tank, so they created the Mark IV. This was a big recreation from the earlier tanks, so as not to still have the same problems they kept on getting, such as getting stuck and breaking down. The Mark IV was the tank that everyone had their hopes on. The tank had its first kill on June 7, 1917 in the attack of Meissen Ridge. The tank had a crew of 8 and a consistent and slow speed of 4 miles per hour. With the Mark V came new and powerful tanks, but with all their limitations, all the way up to the Mark X. This picture is of the German super tank from 1942 called the Land Cruiser P-1000 Rat. It took so many resources the Germans could not finish it.